I'm your host, Michael Thayer, and in studio today, we've been talking with Dean Germain with Waterstone Mortgage, Andrea Brewer with Reliant Realty, and then Marla Baggett with Keller Williams. Let's presume that our listeners, their first time. Okay. They don't know anything about the buying of the first home or anything like that, and even if it's a move-up buyer, the rules have changed. So let's break that down a little bit as far as what are we looking for specifically on a credit score basis, and then let's kind of take it from there into the loan programs.
Okay. Well, for the most part, with us at Waterstone, we have a baseline of 640. That's where we like to start. We do have other options available, but that's going to be individual specific. So it's actually looking at their credit, looking at their scenario to get a more in-depth picture and see if they would fit in those. So we started at 640. On most of our programs. Then we look for trade lines. Certain programs have to have certain trade line requirements. Obviously, we've heard of the quote first-time home buyer program, your standard FHA. We do go with the 640 for that on ours as well. It is definitely a more lenient program, so we can run an automated underwriter and has a lot more leniency on your credit depth. So then we would step up into a conventional loan, which of course the conventional loans we can actually do it to a lower credit score. Right. But the issue you get into is the mortgage insurance, the higher down payment required, the rate adjustments that go into lower credit scores. And we work our way up obviously through conventionals to 720s, 760s for your mortgage insurance requirements. So that's why I say it's definitely a full scenario analysis on each individual buyer, because everyone is so different nowadays. It's not like the old subprime days where a lot of people are used to, well, it was easy last time, I just gave my driver's license, we were done. No, we're going to do a full analysis and look at everything.
You have somebody, they came out of school or they've been living rent free. How would you address that? Because that may be a concern that somebody has is, I have thin credit, or I don't have any credit kind of thing, or, I don't even have rent. How would you coach them around that?
Well, fresh out of school, when somebody actually goes to school, they can provide transcripts.
Right.
And we will count transcripts as you basically have had a job. You've dedicated, 8 to 10 hours of your life, or 30 hours per week as far as education goes, for the past 2 to possibly 6 years to getting an education. Right. So we can't say, oh, well, that doesn't count. Well, it does count. Now, we do get a lot of people who they go to school and they get, a degree in, underwater basket weaving that may not necessarily go into underwater basket weaving, so we can't always count that. But, it does show their pattern of, quote, working. So they are actually doing something. Right. They just can't document income. So it's easy to get past it with transcripts.
One thing a lot of clients ask me about student loans and how that will affect their ability to get a loan.
Sure.
Can you kind of touch on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, student loans, back in the day, they used to just disregard them if they were deferred. We found that didn't work out too well for us. So I usually have the students or the borrower get online and give me their actual payments. Because usually what reports on their credit report isn't always accurate. If it doesn't show a student loan payment and showing deferred, we have to count 4% of the balance. So when you think about the numbers that could work out to be, some people have $10,000 in student loans. Well, that's $400 a month that they have to pay. Yeah. That's a significant payment, which is really not going to be there. It's probably going to be $30 a month, $35 a month. They're usually pretty minimal, and we just work that in their debt to income ratio to make sure that once they do come out of deferment, that they can afford to pay all of their bills at once.
What would you say for a first-time home buyer, or even a move-up buyer? What would you say to them as far as with the way the market is here in Nashville? It's just so crazy with multiple offers, and people want to go see houses at 10 o'clock at night, 6 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it's just, you guys live that where, we do. Dean and I are kind of sheltered from that to some regard, but, share some of your experiences with that as far as those crazy hours and just the crazy market with multiple offers and all that.
I want to know how you get sheltered from that, because I got a text last week at 5:01 in the morning. So I'm, just let me know how you get sheltered from that.
It's called Do Not Disturb.
Yeah, it works. Well, we were at the earlier, Dean, you were talking about the people that had their house sold. They're contractually bound to sell it, and then they realize they can't buy one.
Right.
Did their realtor not say, well, what are your plans? Where are you going? As they're listing their home? Because, that seems like that's something I would ask people if I'm listing their house. Hey, you need to have a plan on where you're going. Finding a house is much easier or harder than selling it is right now,
Right. No, and one of them too, and this is why it's so important, is one of them, he bought his house a year ago and sold it literally on the same day. The contract was the exact same day 12 months later. Wow. So he had no problem last year. We had some issues that popped up that were not his that lowered his credit scores. And that's why it's so important to get pre-approved first, because while you may think you're being diligent, We see it on the news every day about somebody else got hacked.
Yeah,
Well,
identity theft.
that could have been your Target card or your Home Depot card or any one of these onlines that keep getting hacked. They're not like, well, I don't even have a Home Depot card. Well, you do now, and you have for the past 8 months, and it hasn't been paid.
Yeah.
And somebody out there has 9 fridges.
And they can
Surprise.
clear that up given time.
Correct.
Absolutely.
And if they had that information going forward because they talked to you before they
Correct.
sold their house,
Exactly.
they wouldn't be in that
Exactly.
situation.
And of course, your credit is good depending on program, 90 to 120 days. So get it checked early. You know, if you've been considering, you know, maybe I'm thinking about selling my house, then that day call and get pre-approved.
Yeah.
Right.
That day, you know.
Start the ball. And I tell people that too, because like you could have, you know, there may be another Marla Baggett, and that Marla Baggett, you know, didn't pay all her bills, and it's a ding on, you know, this Marla Baggett's
Yeah.
credit,
Yeah.
even though it's not her.
Right.
And then, you know, with a couple of weeks or a month, and, you know, had you started looking, you could have that corrected by the time you need to.